Hello and welcome to the LCTV News. I'm Mukala Kabongo. In this edition of the LCTV News, preliminary election results, history and hops, back to school bash, sit down with Ruth's Way for Women, and more. Congratulations to Cinda Don and Fred Hogan on their preliminary victories for Ward 6 councilors on Tuesday. The race for Ward 6 was one of the highly contested race. Hogan received 312 votes, while Don finished with 302 votes. The two will now move on to the general elections in November. Donald Castle finished third in the race with 152 votes. No surprise in the race for the other city council seats. The four at-large incumbents all won. Buzzy Barton received the most votes with 1,519 votes. Hong Net followed with 1,444 votes. Brian LaPierre came third with 1,385, and Brian Fields finished with 1,381 votes. George Memetius could have a tough battle with City Council President Darren Sear. Sear was victorious by 22 votes, setting up a challenge in November. Wayne Losey defeated William O'Shea in the race for Ward 1. Losey finished with 506 votes to O'Shea's 367. In Ward 4, Richard Colucci defeated Natasha Maggie Madry. Colucci received 166 votes to Maggie Madry's 70. Diana Chakutis received 123 votes to win the primary for Ward 5. Marvin Hippolyte finished with 77. John J. Walsh defeated Alexis Reynoso 261 to 66 for the Ward 7 seat. For the school committee race, the six incumbents received top votes in the polls. Donna Capola received 1,606 votes, the most by any of the incumbents. John Ford followed with 1,389 votes. Lorraine Gately came in third with 1,360 votes. Brian Castellanos finished with 1,187 votes. Jared Nicholson received 1,172 votes, and Michael Satterwright received 1,047 votes. The general election will be on November 5th. A two-story home on Summer Street that's been abandoned caught fire early Saturday morning. Lynn Fire arrived at Summer Street where they found a male and a female illegally living in the abandoned building, according to Fire Captain Joseph Zukas. The fire began on the second floor and made its way into the roof. According to Captain Zukas, the cause of the fire was electrical reasons. Space heaters, air conditioning units, and several other electronic devices were being powered by numerous extension cords. The two squatters that were found in the home were not injured. Firefighters responded to a fire at a two-story house on Neptune Street near Commercial Street. The fire began in the hallway ceiling fixture. It took Lynn firefighters about 15 to 20 minutes to put the fire out. Two children and a woman living in the house were not injured during the small fire. With the upcoming rain scheduled for this Saturday, the Goldfish Pond Fun and Flea Market has been postponed to Saturday, September 14th. The Fun and Flea Market will begin at 9 a.m. and go on until 3 p.m. Now for the police update. A Lynn man was arrested last Friday after approximately $300,000 worth of fentanyl and cocaine was seized from his home on Howard Street. Carlos Pena Diaz was charged with trafficking more than 200 grams of Class A and Class B drugs. Lynn Police Drug Task Force conducted a surveillance near Howard Street and witnessed Pena Diaz engaging in a drug transaction, according to Lieutenant Michael Kimmick. A search warrant was executed at Pena Diaz's home, where they seized 2 kilos of fentanyl that was possibly mixed with heroin, a kilo of cocaine, and the drug paraphernalia. Lynn Police are investigating reports of shots being fired Tuesday morning at the corner of Baker and Chase Streets. Police recovered 9mm shell casings after residents told police they heard about 5 gunshots. Nobody was hurt and no arrests have been made. The incident remains under investigation. Lynn Police received reports of shots being fired Sunday near Shaw's Court. A call from a resident around 3:30 p.m. to say she heard several gunshots in her backyard, according to Lieutenant Glenn Dunnigan. The caller also said she saw 4 boys fleeing towards Essex Street. 1 boy appeared to have been shot. The incident remains under investigation. On Thursday evening, LCTV sent a crew to the Lynn Museum for the 10th annual History in Hops. History in Hops is a gathering of bear lovers.
Welcome to Lynn Museum's 10th annual History and Hops event. We're really excited for a very fun evening of brew and pretzels and great music and fun people. This year we have Rumson Rum and Boston Harbor Distillery, which are new vendors here at the History and Hops event. So hopefully you'll get to come next year for the 11th annual History and Hops.
So Boston Harbor Distillery has been open for about 4.5 years now. We're located down in Neponset Circle in Dorchester. It's actually the old Seymour's ice cream building. So we're right on the waterfront down there. We're open every Saturday from 1 to 5 for tours and tastings. And we also do a lot of private events.
This event has been going on since before. I've been here for 8 years, but I think about 10 years ago, someone thought it would be just a fun event to have people come and have some beer and maybe take a look in the museum. And
so our Putnam malt whiskey and rye whiskey brands are 2 of our best sellers. Also, the Boston Harbor Distillery maple cream liqueur is really great products as well.
This turnout, it's a little quieter. We are happy with the number of people. It's a Thursday night. We usually do it on a Friday night, but we wanted to try a Thursday to see what it would be for, folks. And I think this is great. We're definitely hopping, and it's early. It's just 7 o'clock now, so we just started about a half an hour ago.
The 10th annual Greek Festival took place over the weekend at St. George Greek Orthodox Church on the Commons, and LCTV was on the scene.
My name is Arthur Rodgeros. I'm Parish Council President here at the St. George Greek Orthodox Church in Lynn. And to all your viewers, welcome. We're having our festival, our annual Greek Festival this weekend, Labor Day weekend. Delicious food, delicious pastries, music, all sorts of Greek souvenirs, and of course beautiful Greek music and dances all weekend long. So I encourage everybody to come on by, enjoy yourself. We're right over at the St. George Church right off South Common Street, right in the back parking lot, and enjoy and hope to see you all very, very soon. Thank you.
LCTV spent a few days at the Lynn Museum to highlight the train diorama exhibit that will be unveiled on Thursday, September 12th. Here's David Riley Jr. with more.
Let's do that piece again.
Diorama. I don't know how to pronounce it. Diorama. A little more.
We're doing 5, 4, 3, 2.
LCTV spent a few days at the Lynn Museum to highlight the train diorama exhibit that will be unveiled on Thursday, September 12th. Here is David Riley Jr. with more.
On September 12th from 5 to 7 p.m., the Lynn Museum will hold an opening for their newest exhibit, a diorama of the railroad that ran through Lynn in the 1890s. We spoke with Elena Hirschman-Seidel, interim director of the Lynn Museum Lynn Arts, about the Lynn Museum and the upcoming exhibit.
We're here at the Lynn Museum and Historical Society at 590 Washington Street. We are open to the public Tuesdays through Fridays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we are open for our members for free, and for visitors it's $5. Students under 12 are always free. On the first floor we have some signage from Old Lynn, as well as postcards that people used to send back and forth. Then on the second floor, where most of our exhibits are, if you come up right now, we are still showing the Lynn Beach painters. We have over 15,000 objects in our collection, so we try and rotate things through so you can see a little bit of what we have to offer. Shoemaking is a very important part of Lynn's history, and so we really celebrate that, but we want people to understand that Lynn isn't just about the shoemaking. The thing we really wanted to highlight right now is our new exhibit that's opening, the Narrow Gauge Railroad Diorama. It was created by Todd Gigg, who's an artist who has a studio in the Lydia Pinkham building. We're very excited to share this with the public. It basically takes mid-1890s, late 1890s Lynn from where you took the train into Boston, and it's a very small piece of that train ride, and you get to see what Todd envisioned that time period looking like. We will have lots of different activities throughout the year as we celebrate this diorama and Todd's creation, and so please go on our website, www.lynnmuseum.org, to see when other programs and workshops will be offered.
We were also able to speak with artist Todd Gigg at his studio in the Lydia Pinkham building.
My son was born in 2001, and at that time I was thinking, I've got to build him a train set when he gets older. So I got out my American Flyer trains from my brother's attic, and I started to imagine what I would do with that. And I was going to build a railroad called the Fort Point Revere Beach in Lynn. When I found out that there was actually a railroad called the Boston Revere Beach in Lynn, that kind of sealed it for me. I had to build that model. Even though at the time of its peak ridership, it had the most densely used railroad in the United States, and that it opened up the North Shore to development, 80% of the people who I polled had never heard of it before. The fact also that it has never been modeled by anyone was extraordinary to me, so I felt there's a niche that needs filling. I've been working on this for about 12 years, and the reason it's taken that long is because I've had to go do historical research to get as much information as I could. So it is based on historical matter, however there are large gaps, as you can imagine, in that record, and I have to fill that with my imagination, and that's what's fun, is coming up with different structures that would be suitable for that era. So what I've been doing is building 4x4 foot modules so that I can keep it mobile and I can move it as I need to. The entire railroad, if I didn't compress it, would be 400 feet long. So I've had to dramatically compress it to get it down to even 40 feet. Right now I've completed 3 modules. They're installed in the museum. I have another 7 to build. As satisfying as it is to build a model railroad for oneself, when you feel that there's an importance to having it seen by others, it gets rather shallow keeping it in your studio. I wanted it in a museum, and so it was a combination of wanting to share Lynn's history and also bring people to the museum and to bring pleasure to their lives. People, when they see the diorama, their first comment often is, I would never have the patience to work on something like this. But your gratification is immediate. It's not so much the completion, it's watching this landscape come to life. And so the pleasure is constant. The only thing I'd like to conclude with is my gratitude to the museum. There are many things that I have learned in making the diorama that the historical societies in Lynn and in Revere and in Winthrop were unaware of. That's one of the things that's so valuable educationally about the diorama, is when people come to see it, they're being educated in ways that perhaps they didn't expect. People forget what they once had unless they're reminded of it. And the diorama is a wonderful way to remind people what once was in Lynn.
On this week's Community Connector, we highlight the Back to School Bash at Ironbound.
All right, we're here at the Back to School Bash. This is the first time that this event has been organized, and we're collaborating with a lot of community organizations. We're here with Sharp Sin. We have North Shore Juneteenth Association.
Process is fairly easy because the community pitched in. That's all it took, is a lot of community effort. So that made it fairly easy.
And we started off with a fundraiser that we did on Facebook, and we had an outpouring of support immediately for that fundraiser, and we were able to raise about $800 toward our backpack collection.
So at Centerboard, they did free haircuts and school backpacks with supplies in them for the last 2 or 3 years. And the McLeans, they said, you know, we want to do kind of the same thing. So it just seemed natural to combine, you know what I mean, and kind of make it one event, make it bigger and better. So that's what we did.
So we were able to collect 396 backpacks, and that does not include the backpacks that were dropped off by Lynn residents and by other organizations today. So I'm pretty sure we came close to our goal of 500 backpacks to give out today. We have a lot of family and Lynn residents here, a lot of Lynn students getting backpacks and getting ready to be getting prepared for school.
I love it. It looks like everybody's giving back to their community. People are excited to be here. It's bringing everybody together for the last time before the school year starts.
It's great when you see, you know, all the people come together, and it's a result of the organizations coming together. You know what I mean? When we do that, we increase our outreach, we increase the people that we can, you know, get to come to these type of events, and it's needed. You know what I mean? In the community, a lot of people, you know, they benefit from something like this: free haircuts, free school supplies for the kids, and, you know, to get them off on the right start on the first day.
Back to, like, it takes a village, and this is our community, and we're going to come together and uplift one another in any way that we can, whether it's through haircuts, whether it's through markers, crayons, backpacks, or just really good energy. And I think it's really exciting that people are here.
Anytime we can get the community together in a positive fashion and kind of do away with some of the stereotypes of communities like ours, it's a positive thing, you know what I mean? And the more we do it, I think it'll grow each time, because the community's been responsive up to this point, very receptive. So I think if we can just continue to do this and get more of the city organizations involved. We have tons of groups in this city that do separate things in the arts or you know, just in education and youth mentoring, period. If we all join forces, you know what I mean, at least a couple times a year, the impact will be huge, you know?
I think it'll just bring nothing but positive vibes, energy, excitement, building and organizing community to come together in this type of space and this type of energy. I think it's contagious. I think it makes people want to give back.
Right. You know, we have to build after this and go back into planning mode and see, you know, with the fall and kids going back to school coming, you know, what more we can do. So I'm excited, man.
Ideally, these events would give kids the resources to be able to store their tools and their items, whether if they're pencils, pieces of papers, markers, or portfolios. You know, it's all about planting the seed and making sure that we're consistently watering and taking care of our plants and our people.
We love the support. You know, we definitely love the support. But
and we love that it's been a great collaborating with other organizations.
Collaborating with everybody, and this is what makes it work.
That's what today is all about. Yeah, it's everybody, the city itself, and giving back.
Now for a weather update with meteorologist Justin Perry.
Good afternoon. I am meteorologist Justin Perry reporting for Lynn Community Television. We've had some devastating impacts from Hurricane Dorian in the Bahama Islands, and he is now impacting North Carolina, soon to be impacting the North Shore and the northeast coastline within the next 24 hours. So let's take a look at our headlines. Dorian's fringe impacts will happen from tonight into tomorrow morning. But then after that, we see near normal temperatures all of next week. So we're looking at kind of a nice reward for going through our storm system tonight and tomorrow. So let's look at where Dorian is now. We said Dorian is located on the outer banks of North Carolina with sustained winds of 90 miles per hour, wind gusts in the eye wall up to 105 miles per hour, a pressure of 965 millibars, and a movement northeast at 15 miles per hour. That will speed up as the storm heads offshore about 200 miles southeast of the Cape and Islands, where there is a tropical storm warning in effect at this moment. So let's look at the impacts and the track of the storm here. On the bottom of the image here, you'll see the rain bands starting to cycle up the coast with the low pressure center passing out to sea here. But during that time, as these bands arc up here, there should be some heavy showers spreading across New England. And in the dark reds offshore, that would be where the eye wall is located, and that would be where the worst of the storm is. So in this case, we're looking at kind of a glancing hit from Hurricane Dorian with some general showers and maybe some isolated thunderstorms mixed in with the rain bands across southern New England, especially eastern areas. All right, so let's look at what we can see for our impacts. With a Category 2 hurricane, normally these values would be a little bit higher, but since this is a glancing hit, we can really only say that our moderate impact would be heavy rain, whereas storm surge and wind damage will be confined to near the eye wall, which is 200 miles offshore, so not really a major impact for our region. Again, on the Cape and Islands, they might get a glancing hit with maybe some wind gusts of 50 or 60 miles per hour, but for the north, where the North Shore is, we won't really see the impacts that high. I've made a map that will actually indicate to you what we can expect here. Again, for the Cape and Islands, some rain, 1 to 2 inches, gusts around 55 miles per hour with sustained winds of 30 to 40. And then for most of eastern Massachusetts, we can actually see about less than an inch of rain and wind gusts around 40 to 45 miles per hour with sustained winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour. Further inland, showers, breezy conditions, but nothing major, and really nothing major on the North Shore either, something much akin to a regular nor'easter that we would see. So not great weather later on tonight or in the overnight hours, but by tomorrow morning when we wake up, things will be starting to wind down and this will be a distant memory, finally. So let's look at our weather for the next 7 days. For today, we have the showers moving in with a high of 70. Tomorrow, after the Dorian heads offshore, we'll have temperatures in the 60s, maybe a little bit of a northwest breeze on the backside of the storm. But overnight, again, heavy rain, windy, mainly on the Cape and Islands, but some effects on the North Shore. Then we go on to Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're looking at temperatures around 70. Beautiful weather for late summer. And then finally, our next chance of rain will be Wednesday and Thursday. There's some forecast uncertainty here. We could see the bulk of the rain either Wednesday or Thursday at this point. I'm leaning towards more of an impact on Wednesday with maybe a leftover shower on Thursday. So we'll focus that on that later on as we get closer to that. Stay tuned for updates on social media for stuff like that. I'm meteorologist Justin Perry reporting for Lynn Community Television.
And now for the sports update. Lynn Classical Soccer Team put together a strong outing in the opening round of the Lynn City Tournament Wednesday night at Manning Field. The Rams shut out St. Mary's 7-0, led by Brian Morales, 2 goals. The Rams' defense made it difficult for the Spartans to gather any momentum in the game. St. Mary's could not muster up a shot at goal in the second half. Classical moves on to the championship game. In the opening round of the city tournament, Lynn Tech defeated Lynn English 2-1 in penalty kicks. The game was close throughout. Lynn Tech took a 1-0 lead going into the half after junior Joe Spell Murphy scored the first goal of the game. Early in the second half, Ryan Lima of English tied the game 1-1. The teams will go scoreless for the rest of the game, then on to penalty kicks where Alexis Barrios netted one in the back of the net to give the Tigers the victory. Tech will look to repeat Saturday afternoon in their rematch with Lynn Classical. On the women's side of the city tournament, the Lynn English Lady Bulldogs defeated the Lynn Tech Lady Tigers 4-0 at Manning Field on Tuesday. The Lady Bulldogs were led by Melissa Zayas, who scored 3 goals and also assisted on 1. Zayas is coming off a strong freshman season where she scored 17 goals for the Bulldogs. English's defense was stout throughout the game. The Lady Tigers' offense could only muster up 1 shot at the goal in the first half. English now moves on to the championship game Saturday afternoon. In the championship game, the Lady Bulldogs will take on St. Mary's, who were victorious over Lynn Classical. Lady Spartans' 4-0 victory over the Rams. Claire Dewars led the Spartans with 2 goals and a pair of assists. Gabriela Diaz also contributed with 2 goals of her own. St. Mary's experience was too much for the young Rams, who were overwhelmed after the Spartans scored the goal in the first 20 seconds. The Spartans took a 3-0 lead going into the half and added another goal quickly into the second half to make it 4-0. Kip Academy suffered their first loss of the season last night at Manning Field, 25-0 in their season opener. Turnovers and penalties cost Kip. 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions hindered their offense from gaining any type of momentum throughout the game. Manchester Essex opened the game with a 69-yard touchdown drive and never looked back. Gavin Glass finished with 16 carries for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Hornets. Daniel Olawasuyi had a big day on the ground for Kip, rushing for 79 yards on 10 carries. Kip takes on Chelsea in 2 weeks. The NFL kicked off its 100th anniversary last night with the oldest rivalry in the NFL history as the Green Bay Packers took on the Chicago Bears. Early in the second quarter, Aaron Rodgers connected with Marquise Valdez-Scantling on a 47-yard pass to get the Packers into Bears territories. 2 plays later, Rodgers found Jimmy Graham for an 8-yard touchdown reception. The Bears offense struggled to get anything going. The Bears went 3 for 15 on 3rd downs. Mitchell Trubisky threw an interception in Packers territory and was sacked on the Bears' last possession of the game. The Boston Red Sox dropped 2 out of 3 against the Minnesota Twins after last night's 2-1 loss at Fenway. Mookie Betts homered in the 4th inning to give the Sox their only run of the game. The Twins would answer in the 5th inning after C.J. Cron hit a grounder that brought in Miguel Sano home to tie the game at 1. Sano would score again in the 7th after William Astudillo singled that made the score 2-1. Rafael Devers was thrown out at home in the bottom of the 9th, which ended the game. In the FIBA World Cup, Team USA routed Japan 98-45 behind Jaylen Brown's 20 points. Kemba Walker added 15 points for Team USA. Next up for Team USA is a matchup against NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo and Greece. The Boston College Eagles are 1-0 on the season after their conference win over Virginia Tech at Alumni Stadium on Saturday. Quarterback Anthony Brown went 15 for 26 for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers caught 2 passes for 91 yards, including a 33-yard touchdown reception in the first quarter. Running back A.J. Dillon carried the ball 23 times for 81 yards and 1 touchdown. The Eagles host the Richmond Spiders this Saturday at Alumni Stadium. On the Lynn Lowdown, we sat down with Nicole O'Brien, founder and executive director of Roots Way for Women. Here is this week's Lowdown. and welcome to the Lynn Lowdown. I'm your host, Mukala Kabongo. Today we have a special guest. We have founder, executive director of Ruth's Way for Women. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
All right, Miss Nicole O'Brien, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
You know, the 3-day weekend kind of made me forget a lot of stuff, so I'm trying to get back into the whole nick of things. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to get back in the groove myself.
Yeah. So Ruth's Way for Women. You're the founder of this. Tell me what led you to to create this organization.
God put in my heart so many years ago that there was a lack of quality, safe housing for women. And I was working at a rehab in Saugus, and the women would complete the program, but then they didn't have a lot of safe options to go to. So it took me a few years and a lot of prayer and a lot of struggle. But then in 2016, we opened the home in Lynn.
Okay, and since opening that home in Lynn, what are some of the things that you guys have been doing since this organization has came to fruition?
So the nonprofit was started in 2014. It took us 2 years to open our sober home. Since then, we've provided safe housing for more than 50 women. Some have stayed as little as 8 hours. Others have stayed 26 months. So it all depends on the woman and what her needs are, what her goals are, and if she does want to get into and stay in recovery.
Now, how do these women come to you guys, or do you guys do outreach and find them? How does that work for them to come in?
I do a lot of networking within the recovery community. Our sober home is not only for women in recovery, but it's for homeless women and female veterans also. So I'm very active in the veterans community, in the homeless community, as well as the recovery community. So we receive a lot of personal referrals, which always works out well because they understand what we're about. We're not the typical sober home that it's drop your bags and go. We're concerned about the whole woman. So, we address behavior issues, not just making sure that they're staying sober and paying their weekly fees on time.
Do you have, now, some of these women single parents that you got, or do you guys not deal with single parents?
No, we have single parents. We have married women in the house. Some have children, some don't have children. So what we do is when a woman comes to the house and her child first visits, regardless of their age, we allow the children to go into the woman's room, sit on the bed for a few minutes, get comfortable in the room. They usually spend about 15 minutes to a half hour in the room. And then this way, the child is comfortable with where their mom is. We've had adult children who've wanted to come and see their mom's room. And we typically allow it just because we want the families to know that their mother, their sister, their cousin is in a safe place, which is, our concern and our priority.
Okay. Now, are there, when they're in the safe homes, do you guys have programs that you guys put together for them, just for them to engage with other people that are there, or are they assigned to somebody?
Well, we have two women rooms and 2 one-women room. Single-person room, sorry. And we also have a live-in house manager and assistant house manager. So once a woman comes in, there are standards and policies that she needs to adhere to. If a woman is working full-time, then she only needs to attend at least 3 self-help groups per week. But if she's not working because, say, she's on SSDI or she's not able to work it right away, she needs to attend a meeting every day and be active in the recovery community. For women who do not struggle with substance use disorder, we adjust their recovery plan so that it's focused on their needs. And the women in the house, we typically, because we're a structured sober home, and we promote it as independent living in a structured family environment, we typically get more mature women and women who are serious about their recovery.
Okay.
So they're willing to, to learn some humility and do the hard work that is going to help them to move forward in their lives in a positive way.
Yeah. How important is it for just us as a community to address problems like this? Because it's a long process for those people that are dealing with it, because some could come in, they'll be there for a day, come back, and then they might have a relapse or anything like that. Just how important is it for us as a community just to make sure we're aware of the mental health of people, the sobriety of people, because when you have an addiction or when you have a problem, it follows you throughout your life. Every day is a battle. For us who don't have an addiction, we might not think of it as a big deal, but for them, just getting through a day and then trying to be consistent is a battle for them.
When I'm a woman in long-term recovery, so I have not had a drink in 11 years. So for me, in my recovery process, I've realized that the amount of support and encouragement that a person receives can influence whether they succeed or fail. So being in an environment, in a community like Lynn is a wonderful community that is so full and rich in recovery and recovery resources, that it's a wonderful place for women to get well and then give back to their community. So they're not just getting well. Women don't just get well and leave the community. They're staying, and they're part of the community in a positive way. So for the community to embrace recovery is so vital to every community. Someone said to me, I don't want this wasn't in Lynn, this was in another city, I don't want a sober house in my neighborhood. I said, so you have the choice of having women in your neighborhood who are sober, working, and making positive choices in their lives, or you have the choice of getting neighbors who drink and have loud parties every weekend. So what's the problem there? Like, that to me is a no-brainer.
Yeah, you would think, right?
Yes.
You would think. How's it important for you for folks to hear your story? For the folks that come in or that come to see you, how important for you? How do you feel when they hear your story? How do you feel when you just let them know that you understand?
Well, it's important to some people. Other people don't care, and that's, I'm just one person. So, but people will look to me and they see a middle-aged white woman, and they'll say they don't picture. We all have those images of addiction and sickness, and so you see someone, a middle-aged white woman who looks like anyone else's mom. And that's what people in recovery look like. People in recovery don't have a specific look. Addiction doesn't have a specific look. We've had women in the house who've come from very affluent communities with master's degrees, and they're sick with a disease that controls and destroys their lives. And we've also had women come into the house who have not even had a GED, who 2 years later are still sober, productive in their lives, and moving forward in a positive way. So it's important that the community realizes that we just need a little help. We need, a little support and encouragement goes a long way to someone who may physically or emotionally been beaten down their entire lives.
Right, we ran out of time.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, the 10 minutes go by quick. But quickly before you go, if they want to know more about your organization, where can they go?
They can find it. Our website is ruthswayforwomen.org. We also have Facebook, Instagram, and a LinkedIn page.
All right, there you have it. Nicole O'Brien, Ruth's Way for Women. She's the founder, director, all that. She does all great stuff for the community. You guys been watching the Lynn Lowdown. We'll see you guys next week or another time. We'll see you guys when we see you guys. Now for some upcoming local events. The Back to School Carnival began on Thursday, September 5th and will go on until Sunday, September 8th on Blossom Street. Kick off the first week of school with food, rides, and more. Gates open at 5 p.m. on Friday and at 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Tonight at Lynn Arts, the galleries at Lynn Arts will be hosting the gala opening reception Plein Air. Doors open at 5 p.m. and the reception will go on from 5:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. On Saturday, September 7th, the Lynn Community Health Center, along with Greater Lynn Senior Services, will be hosting the Men's Health and Wellness Forum at Lynn Community Health Center from 10 a.m. until noon. Medical professionals will be on hand to discuss health and wellness and ways to raise awareness in the community about men's health. City Hall will be welcoming residents for the 70th anniversary of Lynn City Hall on Tuesday, September 10th from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. An art exhibit called City Hall will be unveiled during the ceremony. LCTV's next Paramount film series will take place on Monday, September 9th. The movie choice for September is Back to the Future. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Movie begins at 7 p.m. Free popcorn and beverages will be available. Thank you for watching the LCTV News. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us at lyntv.org to watch any show anytime on your computer, tablet, or phone. I'm Mukala Kabongo. Have a great day.